everyone. Thank you so much for being with us on this August 19th Wednesday. I'm Savannah Welch, and this is Weather Out West. This is the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western U.S. You'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in the Pacific Northwest to the Mountain West and California to Arizona in the Southwest. Now, we start today in Phoenix, where meteorologist Ginger Jeffries is tracking the extreme heat and monsoonal conditions in the area.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. A look at your weather out west across the great state of Arizona, where we are going to be sizzling. In fact, numbers are climbing this week near record territory. But, you know, we talk about our summer extremes here in Arizona, everything from the extreme heat. And I mean, remember, we've already seen temperatures at 118 this year. Hottest day ever recorded for the month of August. But now we're kind of seeing the double whammy. Our other summer extreme, the monsoon. Well, we're going to see a little monsoon action on top of extreme heat towards Thursday and Friday this week. So definitely the double whammy, as we are now in the thick of the dog days of summer. Happens every year. All right, let's talk temps first. First, you see temperatures like 108 to 109 for Yuma. We've got 110 in Parker, 92 today at the Grand Canyon, 87 in Flagstaff, Show Low, Safford, Tucson. Yes, a little bit of moisture moving on through. We do have some minimal monsoon moisture that we're seeing primarily to the southeast quarter of the state, but across the state, you're also noticing a little bit of cloud cover as Phoenix is going for 109 degrees. We're going to have a lot of clouds in the morning, clearing by this afternoon. So one of our weather watchers in Gilbert, Mary Lee, sending me in this photo. Most of these clouds stretched out. They look like cotton candy. They're not carrying any kind of moisture. When we get those dark underbellies, that's when it looks like we could spring a leak overhead. But again, doesn't look like that's going to be impacting the valley. The perimeter to the east, southeast of Phoenix, definitely on the board. So clouds then clear by later today. Daytime highs pushing up to 109 degrees, which is, yes, above normal, but not quite up at that record territory. Now, as we get into the thick of this extreme heat this week, I think we're going to be awfully close to the records. So let's map you through your Tuesday. As you can see, we've got ample cloud cover, I'd say, through about the noon hour, and then those skies are really going to open up, and it's looking pretty clear and hot as a result. Temperatures are going to respond 105 to 109 by 4 o'clock. And then here come the clouds. Once again this evening, I'll call it partly cloudy conditions as we drop down to 89. But again, these are thin clouds, so it just doesn't look like any of it will be able to produce any saturation. Now, on to the first leg of extreme conditions. Wednesday through Friday, look at these numbers, 111 to 112. National Weather Service issuing an extreme heat warning for our area simply because these numbers are so far above the normal range. But are we checking any record boxes? Take a look. Here's the forecast. Here's your records, 113 to 114. So again, within the vicinity, and I think Friday, well, Thursday and Friday would be my days if I'm going to bet on it that we're going to get meeting or beating records. By Wednesday, we're just warming up, but still anything above 110 is on the blistering side. Now, as far as the monsoon meter, look at this. We've got some pretty active conditions once again for the Rim and White Mountains through southeast Arizona, but really no impact for western AZ or the valley. Futurecast showing you exactly what I'm talking about, and you're going to see it huddled right around here, right about the 5 o'clock hour. That's when that warm air really feeds the convection process, and that's when we should start to see some moisture developing. However, as we look deep into the next 7 days, you can see more monsoon moisture is surging for the White Mountains by Thursday. High country really seeing some ample moisture Friday and Saturday. And then for the valley, we've got an opportunity starting on Friday. So again, minimal for the valley, but it's a double whammy because of the heat. Flagstaff, you need to be ready. You've got a lot of monsoon moisture moving through again, starting on Thursday, holding through the weekend for the valley. Weather impact alerts Wednesday through Friday, courtesy of the extreme heat. We'll hold on to above normal conditions and see some monsoon moisture develop as well.
Now moving from the desert southwest to the Rockies, where temperatures are expected to climb in the days ahead. Here are meteorologists Kathy Sabin and Chris Bianchi in Denver, Colorado.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Kathy Sabin, and we had a beautiful start to the week with a little bit of rain, a few thunderstorms, but now A high pressure ridge just building right back in. It's going to limit the amount of cloud cover for our beautiful sunrises and sunsets, but it's also going to limit the amount of precipitation that we see, and that's going to allow for record high temperatures possibly on Wednesday and Thursday, increasing our fire danger yet again. We're still battling numerous blazes across western Colorado, where the drought monitor shows an increase in extreme drought conditions across the northwest and east central part of our state, as well as the western slope. This extends down into the Great Basin as well as the southwestern part of the U.S. So a pattern change would be welcome and wanted, very much so, as the tropical monsoon plume of moisture that typically streams northward into Colorado every day this time of year is very lean, very thin. We don't have a lot of moisture available for thunderstorms, but you know, there is a little bit out there. The best chance of showers and storms is actually going to come in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with a pattern shift as high pressure begins to build down and the trough approaches from the west. So the good news is severe threat is well outside our state's border. The moisture is super limited today, so any moisture that we do see will be in the mountains and foothills, and that could lead to an isolated storm around Colorado Springs or up by Fort Collins. But we've got Denver dry and above the average of 88 today. We move into record territory on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll start this morning in the 60s, climb to the low 90s. There'll be a little bit of cloud cover today, but then it just gets hot. Wednesday 95, 98, close to a record Thursday, but then a big pattern shift, a cooler weather trend. We have temperatures in the 80s with a chance for showers Friday, Saturday, but almost an early preview of fall on Sunday and Monday with highs in the 70s and some beneficial rain. So that's something to look forward to.
Well, yesterday we talked about the fact that we're starting to see some of those fall colors come out in Franktown, across the mountains, even down into some of the lower elevations. We've gotten photos even from here in Denver of those fall colors starting to change. So with that in mind, I want to get into that forecast. What can we expect and when can we expect those peak fall colors, and how will that show be this year? Well, first of all, those peak dates for us across the mountains. In our northern mountains, our average peak date is between September the 15th and the 25th. And generally speaking, we're talking about mid to late September for our central and northern mountains, and late September and early to mid-October for our southern mountains, the San Juans, the Saguache, the Sangre de Cristos, a bit more into early October. This year, though, based on the fact that we've got that drought and we're already starting to see those fall colors change, I'm actually going to go ahead and move those expected peak dates a bit earlier. So what I would say in general is I would say it's 1 weekend earlier than usual this year. That's the way it's trending right now, just based on the fact that we're seeing those fall colors already starting to show in a few kind of dotty areas for us around the mountains. And this is, of course, because of our drought. That is meaning that those trees are using up their available energy right now, and they're starting to change as we speak. And so I would expect a full weekend earlier than average across most of the mountains to see those fall colors changing for us. And so that early fall color, or early fall forecasted earlier than usual peak. I would also say, unfortunately, because of the lack of water and lack of, frankly, fuel for these leaves and for these trees, the show will generally not be as vibrant this year, but there is still some time for this to change. For example, next week's forecast is trending on the rainier side. That may help things out. And also, if we get those cool nights and warm but not too hot days into early September, that could also help things out with that fall foliage forecast. So it's not set in stone, but generally speaking, it's trending earlier and not as vibrant this year.
And coming up next, we'll take you to the Golden State, where a warm-up is on the horizon. Welcome back. Now, next on the list is Northern California, where meteorologist Monica Woods has a look at the potential triple-digit temperatures in the forecast.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with our Northern and Central California hot forecast. Looking at that rundown for the coast, we've got morning fog, afternoon sunshine, major heat coming to the valley. Be weather aware in the foothills. That heat will include the Sierra foothills, and in the Sierra, dry and sunny. Some areas are going to have that elevated fire danger. Forecast highs for our Tuesday still sitting pretty close to average, 90s in the valley, 70s along the coast, 80s for the foothills, and near 80 up top for the Sierra. Heat risk forecast, it is going to go up, as you can see, driving in through our Thursday and Friday Friday forecast, that's when we really start to see things elevated into that major heat risk. That's going to affect anyone without adequate cooling and hydration. That's why we've got this weather impact alert in effect for the San Joaquin Valley and the Sierra foothills. That'll be Friday. The impact being major heat risk, also needing shade, hydration, and access to cooling. We've got an extreme heat warning going into effect by Wednesday. That's going to take us all the way through Saturday for parts of 395 in the Central Valley and the foothills. As we move our way through the Central Valley and over towards the coast, it's an extreme heat watch. Again, pretty much the same time frame, right around the middle of the week through our Saturday forecast. A little closer perspective here. We've got a fire weather watch in effect also starting up early Thursday morning all the way through Saturday with the heat and a bit of wind and low humidity that's going to elevate that fire risk. And that will be true as well on the opposite side of the state. This is going to be on the east side of the state. This will be for Tuesday. Low humidity, gusty winds and dry fuel along 395 through parts of near Yosemite all through the southern Sierra. So a lot to watch here as we drive in deeper through this work week. Fire season so far pretty close to last year, a little bit ahead of pace for that 5-year average. But overall, we've had some pretty significant fires this year, including what happened in January in Southern California, as well as that Gifford fire, over 130,000 acres burned in San Luis Obispo counties and part of Santa Barbara County as well. All right, let's take a look at how things are going to progress throughout our Tuesday and midweek forecast. We still have that light breeze coming in for our Tuesday, keeping temperatures within a decent threshold. But then as we head into our Wednesday forecast, here comes that building ridge of high pressure over the southwest. It's sinking, warming air, and the summer heat makes a big return. Highs for our Tuesday near 80 up top for the Sierra, with 80s and low 90s down low throughout the Sierra foothill. So not quite into that real risk territory yet. We're in the 80s through much of the central Sierra as we head into the Central Valley. Merced at 94, Fresno at 96, a little bit farther to the south and along the central coast. For Bakersfield, 96 degrees. We'll see that as well throughout most of the northern part of this region. Los Banos at 94. Along the central coast, Monterey Bay Peninsula still sitting comfortably in the 60s. A little farther to the south, we get into those 70s, closer to San Luis Obispo, Morro Bay at 71 as well. Looking at the Bay Area forecast, we get morning fog, afternoon sunshine, 60s and 70s along the coast, 80s to near 90 as we trek inland. And along the northwest coast, nice and cool, 62 for Eureka, 62 for Fort Bragg. Head inland, Redding, we're still below 100 at 95. But as we travel through the Central Valley, again, one of those days we're going to be pretty close to our average August highs, right around 90 to 95 degrees. From there, we go up. Chance of thunderstorms returns to the Sierra as well Friday and Saturday. Keeping a close eye on that fire danger for the Tahoe Basin. For the foothills, highs will be approaching 100 by the time we get to Friday. For many of us, that's going to be our peak heat. And for the coast, it's a mix of sun and clouds, highs in the 60s and 70s. You can see how our shift in our weather pattern will also bring some warmth to the coast. Highs over the next several days, well, we are on the way up. Once we get through our Tuesday with a high near 90, we go up from there. There's that weather impact alert in place for Friday. We'll keep a close eye on whether we expand that or not.
And Southern California is also feeling that summer heat and warmth. Here's Vanessa Paz with the forecast down in sunny San Diego.
Well, happy Taco Tuesday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. We had some dense fog this morning. It was laid on quite thick along our most populated neighborhoods, but thankfully the sunshine finally peeking through by the time we got to mid-morning. As we take a look at your weather headlines as we progress through the work week, we are officially transitioning out of that cooling pattern that we were spoiled with over the past several days. Temperatures were running much cooler than average. We're now entering a warming trend, and by Thursday, everyone, with the exception of the coastal areas, will be under some sort of heat alert. We're also going to have a surge of monsoon and moisture, which will give us the uptick in humidity and also bring us a chance for some light showers and a chance for thunderstorms. All right, so here is that extreme heat watch. It will take place Thursday morning in the early hours of about 8-9 o'clock, and it will be in place for the valleys, the mountains, and deserts. So everyone will be under that heat alert with the exception of the coastal areas. It's still going to be fairly warm along along the coast and beach neighborhoods, but we're talking mostly 70s in comparison to some of the 90s that we're going to experience in the coming days. All right, taking a look at today's highs versus what we're expecting Thursday and Friday once that heat peaks, we're looking at anywhere between a 1 to nearly 10-degree jump in daytime highs. So today we'll be in the mid-70s, warmer than Monday, and then we'll shoot into the 80s for interior parts of the county. That's about and by Friday, I should say, we'll be about 1 to about 5 degrees warmer or so, pushing into the high 90s in Ramona by the time we wrap up the work week. And by Friday, in comparison to what we're experiencing today, will be anywhere between 4 to 7 degrees warmer for the mountains as well as the desert areas. Here's where we're going to drop to for overnight lows. We are expecting those clouds to roll back in, mainly confined to the coastal areas, which is why we're expecting some mild conditions overnight into the high 60s along Oceanside all the way down to the South Bay. And then we'll be about 5 degrees cooler for the inland valleys, mid-50s tonight for Ramona, and we'll still be really warm later on this evening for Borrego Springs in the low 80s. For tomorrow's highs, we're expecting the coastal areas to produce mid to high 70s, another day of low 90s for the inland and mountain areas, and the deserts will be inching anywhere between 110 and 115. So here's that incoming ridge. It's going to move west, expand, strengthen, and that's going to usher in warm air and also filter in some subtropical moisture, which is the reason why we're expecting some isolated showers. Now I'm going to put this futurecast into play. This is our European model, which tends to be on the ambitious side, but it does a pretty good job highlighting where we're expecting those scattered showers mainly to our north in Riverside, San Bernardino counties. We also have some rain expected to our south in Mexico. And again, we are looking at the chance for rain to be quite minimal, anywhere between 10 to 25%, but there's still a chance of it. And some of that instability, although as of last check, it's mainly confined to the mountains and deserts, it could very well spill into the valleys. So here's what it looks like in numbers. Our rain chances specifically for the mountain areas will be about 20 to 25%. Starting Friday, we'll really start to feel that humidity in play, and that's when we have that chance of showers. It's pretty long lasting all the way through Monday, and then we'll dry out more so on Tuesday into the middle of next week. Here's what your coastal 7-day forecast looks like. We'll be in the high 70s all the way through the weekend. So once we get to the high 70s by tomorrow afternoon, we'll stay in that range all the way through Sunday, and then temperatures will drop a few degrees. For the inland valleys, we'll be in the high 80s, a lot closer to where we should be for this time of the year. So typically in August and in summer, we should be seeing those inland highs topping out close to 90, and that's exactly what we'll see all the way through about Sunday, and then we're in the low 80s by Tuesday. Here's a quick look at the mountains and desert areas. Excessive heat Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's when the warmth peaks, and then some subtle cooling by the time we get to the weekend.
And up ahead, we'll move up the coast with a look at the northwest to see how the wildfire smoke is affecting air quality. Now from the southwest to the northwest, the heat in Portland is packing a punch with higher temperatures even on the way. Here's meteorologist Rod Hill with the forecast.
On what's going to be a lovely Tuesday, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill, and in Portland, hello. We're already putting out the word to take advantage of today's comfortable weather, take advantage of Wednesday's comfortable weather. After that, we start heating up, and we have big time growing confidence that we will be back into another heat wave this coming Friday, Saturday into Sunday, and I'll have those numbers for you in just a moment. Today, though, what a great morning. We've had temperatures that were flirting with the 40s in parts of the Willamette Valley to start our day with basically clear skies. The only thing I'm watching as a forecaster is this ribbon of clouds that's ahead of this weakening low. This is the last day we'll see this low on our map, by the way. It's been there for quite some time. These clouds won't do anything but just take away the sun a bit. This morning, they're mainly up into western Washington. Could see some increase in cloud cover eventually come into, here, the closer look, come into places like Astoria and Long Beach, and maybe up into Kelso, Longview, north of Portland a little bit later today. Here's futurecast of 5 p.m. Just shows that cloud band. No precipitation with it. And outside of this area, it's a sunny day that will be mostly sunny to partly sunny and really nice. With the increasing sun that we're going to get today, especially when compared to the last few, temperatures will be just a little bit warmer. We've been in the 70s. Portland hasn't even made it to 80 in the last handful of days. I think we will today. Our live cameras are really great. Chinook Woods Casino Resort in Lincoln City, kind of partly sunny. You can tell that's Just kind of a thin overcast. Could be like this all day. Temperatures at the beach, 60s to maybe just making it to 70. At least this morning, nobody's really reporting any wind. Here's our Timberline Lodge sky camera looking out over the mountain and the Palmer Snowfield right there. The summer camps, of course, for boarding and skiing have ended. Temperatures up on the mountain today might get up to the low 60s. It looks like maybe 64. Salem sky camera, the clear skies over our state capitol, really pretty day, and downtown Portland, a similar scene. Looking over the Motor Center where the Blazers play NBA basketball for us, and there you can see some early morning traffic on I-5. So our forecast numbers are good ones. Here they come. Astoria 69, Pacific City the same, Newport 65. Partly sunny to mostly cloudy later today, mainly up north in places like Astoria and getting up into Long Beach. Winds will just be northwest 5 to 15. Valley numbers, really comfortable for this time of the year. Pretty much considered exactly normal. Salem 83, Corvallis 84, mostly sunny to maybe partly cloudy, although it's looking more and more like as you drop south of Portland, it's just a gorgeous sunny day. Northwest winds 5 to 15. And then southwest Washington, here's your better chance to see some increasing cloud cover. But even with that said, weather models still put out 80 degrees for a high temperature up in Longview. So our weather map is real simple. No weather-related issues today. Everybody's dry and nobody's really hot. Out east, we don't see any 90s. 5 o'clock this afternoon, this shows Burns and John Day at 87. Beautiful Baker City, 86 out there by the Elkhorn Mountains. Mid-80s in Central Oregon. Sun River, 79, maybe 80 for high. Gorgeous. 84 in the Dalles. Winds in the gorge this morning have been light. And then we get up to about 80 or so. For the first time in several days, I mentioned in Portland and the nice weather, except for maybe some thickening clouds up around Astoria this afternoon. Here's our 7-day. We do have the red color for the KGW weather impact alert for the hot weather coming. So again, today, fabulous, 81. Tomorrow, fabulous, 83. We start to turn up the heat on Thursday, 88. The last heat wave that we had in Portland went 99, 99, and 99. That's the hottest we've been so far this summer. I've got 98 Friday, 98 Saturday, but understand, if anything, I will have to raise these numbers, we think, not lower them. Could be 100 degrees. And still well into the 90s on Sunday. It's unclear as to whether we're in the 80s on Monday, as I show here, or if we say hot.
Now we'll send it over to Idaho, where wildfire smoke is creating hazy conditions in the area. They're seeing hotter temperatures, and it's only expected to get warmer with that ridge of high pressure. Here's Hector Mendoza in Boise.
Hello, I'm Hector Mendoza, forecasting out here in Boise, Idaho with KTVB. But the biggest thing that we've seen to start off the week is going to be the warm temperatures we saw yesterday. That'll continue into today, but just look how beautiful that sunrise was early on this morning. This is us looking at our Bogus Basin webcam here, looking off into the Treasure Valley, into the distance. Hard to see as we do have some lingering wildfire smoke that's making its way on through the rest of this morning and into this afternoon. But just look at the sunshine that comes on and shining on some of those trees. The other thing I wanted to pay attention to, it was a pretty good day yesterday, so let's take a look at this video that we have of these paragliders through Kuna. Just an absolutely beautiful video there. The views with the blue skies, clouds off into the distance, and seeing the beautiful landscape with some of the sprinklers turned on in some of the fields and areas there. But just an absolute spectacular video. Thank you so much for posting that on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook page. But this is look out of the Bogus Basin. This is a different view looking out on to Bogus Basin here on a Skycam 7 camera. And then there is where you can see some of that smoke that we're seeing in some of the air. So it's pretty hazy early on this morning, and we're expecting that through the rest of this afternoon. A little bit clearer here in Sun Valley in some of those areas, but if we look at our Tamarack Summit camera, that is where we're seeing some areas with some of the nearby fires near some of that, and that is where we're going to see most of that smoke, is where it's going to continue to make its way through into some of the west central mountain spots where we can see some of those hazier conditions, so including McCall, Donnelly, and Cascade. But the Treasure Valley doesn't escape from that. Even though we do have southerly winds coming in, we're seeing some of the wildfire smoke trickle in from the south from Nevada, and that is where we're going to have some of the hazier conditions for the afternoon through the Treasure Valley and expanding on into the Magic Valley for this afternoon. And that continues Wednesday and into Thursday as well, as we'll continue to see some of the smoke, expecting some of that to mix out just a little bit into Thursday. But again, we are anticipating some some of that smoke to linger on for just a bit. For some of those folks in the Magic Valley that are very sensitive to the air particulate, be careful of not spending too much time outside. And these temperatures aren't going to help as much, as we're going to stay very, very hot for today in the Magic Valley, hitting the upper 90s for Jerome and Twin Falls. So that might also have you indoors next to the air conditioner, making sure to stay cool, especially here in the Treasure Valley, as some of those areas will see triple-digit temperatures, especially if we look at Mountain Home at 101, hitting at 98 here in Boise, and into those upper 80s, low 90s for some of those mountain spots. But as we look at the next 10 days, we're going to want to limit some of our time outdoors due to some of the hot conditions for the afternoon. You might want to do some of your strainier, some of the more of the hardworking sort of stuff that you want to do, whether it's yard work, whether it's exercise outside. You're going to want to do it early on into the morning or later into the afternoon, as we're going to see some of those comfortable temperatures. Even as we look into Sunday and Monday of this weekend and into next week, those temperatures get close to 70, but staying pretty comfortable and then looking pretty good, as we're going to have some toastier afternoons. So as we look at the 7-day forecast here for our mountain areas, mid-80s stick around till Thursday, getting up into the 90s into Saturday, seeing some of those clouds make their way through and expecting a chance for some storms to come along into the end of the weekend and into early next week. That's exactly what we're expecting here in the 7-day forecast for Twin Falls, as those temperatures will get up into the mid-90s for Saturday, seeing those clouds increase and a chance for some storms and some showers coming along Sunday into Monday. And then Boise, we're expecting to hit near triple digits for today, down into the low 90s, more seasonable temperatures heading on into Thursday, wrapping up the work week with a lot more sunshine. It's starting to see those clouds start to increase and those temperatures as well. And then we are also going to see a chance for some area-wide showers and some storms to come along. So we're expecting that into Sunday afternoon and Monday afternoon, looking down into the low 90s into Monday.
After the break, we stay in the Pacific Northwest and head to the state of Washington to round out your weather out west, where they too are feeling a similar trend of increasing temperatures as the week goes on. And plus, last week, we brought you a glimpse of the Environment Northwest team's Glaciers on Thin Ice series. This week, we bring you an in-depth interview with the founder of the Northwest Avalanche Center, who studied glaciers. You'll want to hear what he has to say later on. Welcome back. Eastern Washington is also seeing lots of sunshine this week with warm weather on the horizon. The heat dome over Colorado and Arizona is cranking up the heat with hot, dry conditions in the area. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick has an in-depth look at the weather over in Spokane.
It's time to soak in that sunshine. I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. And our forecast, as you could probably guess, is going to feature sunshine. But not just today, and not just tomorrow, and not just this weekend, but for the foreseeable future for Eastern Washington. A perfectly sunny, but unfortunately very summery weather pattern. So this is going to be very stable, and the only thing that changes here is just how warm or hot it is going to be, because that sunny sky conditions, that is going to carry every single day. In fact, the weather pattern very well might not change for the next 2 weeks or more across the inland Northwest. So this is what we're looking at temperature-wise, up to 87. You may remember for Spokane, that's the highest the average temperature climbs at the end of July and early August. For this time of year, it's 4 degrees above average. But it's going to continue to climb day after day. So no cloud cover over Eastern Washington. There's a bit on the west side because you're in closer proximity to a larger storm system, which is just spinning in place. So without any eastward propagation of that low pressure or cold front, there's no threat for any weather impacts around Spokane or into North Idaho at all. And that's why for the near-term outlook, we stay sunny for at least a couple days, and our temperatures will climb accordingly. As you saw, 87, the forecast high in Spokane. It's up to 84 in Pullman. That's a pretty comfortable summer day. And even the wind speeds aren't all that impressive either. A gentle 5 to 10 miles per hour today, and a little bit more breezy tomorrow, 5 to 15 miles per hour. The only thing I noticed was the I-90 corridor, especially around Ellensburg, could get some slightly gustier winds, but nothing that was really anything concerning or anything on my radar in terms of overall weather impacts. So instead, things just heat up. There's this big heat dome to our south here, and that continues to build in place for the West Coast as a whole. So while it's anchored way to the south, even the top edge of the ridge gets into Washington and North Idaho. That will help to bump up temperatures in this region of the inland Northwest, but also helps to shape that jet stream into that ridge pattern, which usually just gives us the sunny and dry weather in the first place. So this is the overall reason why we just see temperatures climb and climb and climb. 92 the forecast in Spokane on Friday, and even up into the mid-90s for the upcoming weekend. This isn't the hottest day of the summer forecast, but at this stage into late August, this is now running about 15 degrees above average. Close, but still not quite record highs. All this season, we've gotten into the mid-90s, just getting up to 97 on a couple of occasions, and I think we're still there or thereabouts. So this is a familiar forecast for the upcoming weekend. 94, 95 degrees, but still about 5 degrees shy of a record high temperature. And this is very reasonably where we're going to get. The models tend to disagree exactly how hot, some as hot as 98, some as low as just 90 degrees. So still trying to split it right down the middle. But when I talk about the extended outlook, I mean well beyond the 7-day forecast, we continue to trend above average. It's not just that mid-90s are likely, it's the duration of this heat wave is really a major headline here. So this could carry well into the end of the month. Before we get to the 7-day forecast, a quick update on any wildfires. There's barely any wind out there, which is good news. The Sunset and Lightning Creek fires in Bonner County burning a bit more stably. So no smoke expected in the region. Instead, just purely sunny skies every single day with temperatures heating up.
And in Seattle, we're looking for a warm and dry forecast in the days ahead after the much needed rain this last weekend. Mild conditions are expected midweek with high pressure building over the Pacific Northwest, making way for a lovely weekend forecast. Rich Marriott from Seattle, Washington has the latest.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and we fired up the Doppler radar today. A little weak front trying to push its way into western Washington, but not being particularly successful. It doesn't have much energy in it, not much rainfall, and it's weakening more as it moves towards the interior. Has produced a few light showers up around the Forks area, and at least a little bit of drizzle farther to the south, but shouldn't make its way really inland. The main effect of that on our weather today is going to be a lot more clouds around for part of the day, but we should see a little bit of sunshine kind of bookending the day overall. Temperatures will be right back where they were yesterday. It was mostly right around the mid-70s. Very pleasant summer weather headed our way for that matter. Checking the Bellingham Tower Cam a little closer to that front. You see they have cloudy skies, but even so, a little bit of blue peeking through at mid-morning. And it's been a beautiful morning in terms of the view there from the Columbia Tower Cam out towards Mount Rainier. You see a very nice cap cloud has formed there. In fact, it's double layered cap cloud. Just it's an indication that we do have a storm system nearby, and there's a layer of moisture at the higher elevations. And when that gets lifted over Rainier, it tends to form these lenticular clouds. Sometimes they're right in contact with the summit, and then it's a cap cloud, or you just have them kind of forming there and see another one forming a little farther downstream from the mountain, but doesn't really indicate the strength of the system because it doesn't have much strength for that matter. It's pretty much going to wash out, so to speak, before it gets inland. Checking out there at Westport, you can see they've seen a little bit of a shower going on there, kind of wetted down the camera lens, but that should wrap up pretty quickly, and they'll see pretty much a cloudy day out there along the ocean beaches. Our first alert 7-day forecast, you can see we're in pretty good shape. We're going to be staying mostly in the mid-70s here for the next couple of days, and then as we head towards the weekend, we are going to be warming up. In fact, Saturday and Sunday starting to look like they might go from warm to maybe hot. Some of the hotter spots might get into the upper 80s to near 90 degrees, but at least at this point, it looks like it's just going to be a warm summer weekend, and we'll keep close watch on that as we get a little bit closer to it. Satellite image doesn't show a whole lot of change. We still have that low sitting off the British Columbia coast, going nowhere, just sitting there spinning little systems around it, and that's the little weak one that's moving in today. And at the same time, we have a large area of high pressure. You can see that clearing over the western states. That's going to gradually strengthen and kind of drift a little to the west, kind of centering over the four corner states, it looks like, as we head towards the end of the week and the weekend. And as it gets a little close to us, it's going to affect our weather more, give us more sunshine and warmer temperatures. You can see computer model showing that pretty much that pattern staying in place pretty much all the way through the week. They kind of move around a little bit, but you see that high starts to build a little bit closer to us while the low is a little farther off the coast. And as a result of that, we'll see those much warmer temperatures headed our way as we head towards the weekend. We do have some of those fires that are right over there around the east of Snoqualmie Pass, producing some smoke. Nothing here on the west side. That's the good news, but we put that into motion over the next day or so. You see quite a bit of smoke moving right down the I-90 corridor and down Interstate 82 as well. The places that are downwind from that fire, we'll see some smoke problems. But here in western Washington, you see the air quality looking really good for today. A couple of places get into the moderate range there around the Tacoma, Seattle area, but most of them are in the good range. And as we head towards tomorrow, also looking at good air quality up and down Puget Sound. If you happen to be headed up to the mountains, things looking pretty nice up there. We've got in the Cascades anyway, we've got some sunshine. You might run into a few showers if you head over to the Olympics today, but see there Paradise, the sun's out. A lot of people there in the parking lot enjoying the day. Forecast does call for partly sunny skies and temperatures getting into the mid to upper 60s. Some pretty nice hiking weather. Our extended forecast, so today partly sunny and maybe a sprinkle near the Canadian border. High temperatures getting into the mid 70s. A little more sunshine tomorrow and temperatures maybe up a degree or two. And then we warm into the upper 70s and low 80s as we head towards Friday and Saturday. The weekend looks, well, it looks like a summer weekend. Temperatures getting into the low to mid 80s most spots, but the warmest spots in the South Sound getting to the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. As we head into next week, we'll see those temperatures cool just a little bit back into the 80s, but it looks like it's going to stay pretty much warm all the way through the end of the month.
And up ahead, we'll dive into our national forecast where some areas are experiencing summer storms with instability in the south. We'll also have the latest on Hurricane Erin. Stick with us. Welcome back. Here's meteorologist Julie Martin with more on the severe storm outlook for the Southern Plains and an update on Hurricane Erin with your national forecast.
Well, for your Tuesday, we're still dealing with extreme heat in the Southern Plains and in the desert Southwest. Hurricane Erin going to be posing some coastal problems along North Carolina and the Outer Banks. And we're looking at a few storms possible in and around the Ohio Valley. So taking a look at those temperatures, that heat holding on from Texas over to Little Rock. We're looking at triple digits all across the board. Memphis, you'll be at 100 degrees with those feels like temperatures more like 110 to 112. So very dangerous heat conditions there. Comfortable though around the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. That's where we've got the 70s and 80s. Still hot in the deep south, 90s from Atlanta down through Tampa. And then here on the West Coast, very comfortable along the Pacific Northwest and into Southern California. That heat though turns on once we get into the desert Southwest. Watches and warnings continuing here in Nevada. Those are fire dangers, red flag warnings there. And then we've got the heat here to contend with in orange that is really just relentless, especially across the Southern Plains. The storm outlook for today is low. It's a level 1 out of 5 here according to the Storm Prediction Center. And we're talking about storms maybe from the Ohio River Valley back into the Southern Plains. Hail, damaging winds, but these would be more isolated in nature. Here is Hurricane Erin. It has now weakened to a Category 2 storm, but over the next couple of days, as it makes its way closer to the U.S. coast, it is going to pose some problems for places like the Outer Banks of North Carolina. That's where we have a tropical storm watch in effect right now. We also have rip current advisories all up and down the eastern seaboard. We're looking at dangerous, life-threatening surf. Waves could reach as high as 15 to 20 feet, and we will see tropical storm force winds. Okay, let's take you region by region now. As I mentioned, comfortable in the Pacific Northwest. We've got the 80s there in Spokane. Warmer, we got the 90s in Boise. Heading into the desert Southwest, as I mentioned, Phoenix, very hot, 112 by Thursday. We'll see the 90s in Denver with things heating up. Hot all across Texas as well with that heat and humidity, and that continues in through the deep south where we've got Little Rock in the triple digits for today. Memphis, you'll be exceptionally hot as well and still holding on to a lot of humidity in places like Atlanta and Tampa. Comfortable around the Great Lakes with the 80s there in St. Louis, Louisville, you're looking pretty comfortable. And heading into the upper Midwest, really nice pleasant conditions from Minneapolis over toward Grand Rapids where we've got those 70s and 80s in play. Cooler conditions as we head into the Northeast. We've got the 70s with some rain today in Buffalo. DC, you're going to be sitting right around the mid-80s by tomorrow. Norfolk, you could see a few storms because of that Hurricane Erin by the time we get into Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Portland looks pretty cool with temperatures in the low 70s.
As promised, when we come back, we'll have the sit-down interview with meteorologist Rich Marriott, who spent decades studying glaciers in the Pacific Northwest. He weighs in on the massive changes we're seeing then and now. West, Seattle meteorologist Leah Pizzetti sits down with Rich Marriott to talk about the changes he has witnessed in his lifetime while he was studying glaciers, as well as their current status for the future. Take a look.
Well, he's been forecasting at King 5 for almost 38 years, but prior to that, he had another incredible career. Meteorologist Rich Marriott joins me now. Rich, you founded the Northwest Avalanche Center 50 years ago.
Right, this is coming December, yep.
That was your winter job.
That was my winter job,
in the
that's
70s
right.
and 80s. You had a summer job as well.
Right, with seasonal work there, but yeah, my professor at the University of Washington, who I got my degree from, who I was working with there, he also was a glaciologist and ran a research station on the Blue Glacier in the Olympics since 1957.
Oh.
Yeah, and so he had all of his graduate students go up and spend some time for at least one summer. And I went up there and I fell in love with it. And he was getting close to retirement, so I took it over.
Oh my goodness. So you lived on the Blue Glacier on the Olympic Peninsula.
During the summer months, yeah.
During the summer, which years?
In 1976 through 1987.
And what did you do while you were up there?
We did some skiing, for one. We skied around the glacier, doing a lot of telemarking, but we were measuring, there were a whole lot of different experiments that were done up there during that time period, but we were measuring the mass balance of the glacier, basically how much snow, how much water it gets from snow in the winter, how much melts off in the summer, and that's basically to measure the health of the glacier.
Wow, incredible. And you lived in a ranger station, correct?
Well, it was this station was built, the research station was built for the International Geophysical Year in 1957-58. And that's where they spent an entire year, including a winter there, which was a very crazy place to spend a winter because we had 100-mile-an-hour winds in the middle of summer up there.
Wow.
So it's the first thing storms encounter after they leave Japan is the Olympic Mountains.
And logistically speaking, what is it like to live on a glacier?
Well, in the summertime, it's actually pretty warm, surprisingly. We lived in shorts most of the time.
I see you in shorts here a lot.
Yeah, and because it's hot on the snow, it really is. And yeah, we would go out and do our work, and we'd come back, and in the evening you would sit on the front porch and you see the Pacific out in the distance and Strait of Juan de Fuca over your shoulder. It was hard to beat. We did a lot of building maintenance to keep the place in shape as part of that, but we did a lot of different measures. One of the experiments we had was from the EPA, where they were measuring the air coming in off the Pacific because they thought it was perhaps the purest they were going to find in the United States because it's coming in after a long trip across the ocean. But mostly we're measuring the health of the glacier, which had been retreating since the early 1900s. It moved lost about a half a mile's worth of ice between 1900 and 1953. And we had some very heavy snowfalls in the early 70s. And because of that, when I was up there, the current terminus had started to advance a little bit, but since then, it has been retreating, and it's probably lost, I don't know, I would guess just roughly about maybe 100 meters from the terminus, and a lot in terms of the thickness. We had that number a few minutes ago about how much has been lost.
And let's talk about that change. So you were there in the 70s and 80s. You most recently went back in 2012.
Right.
What does it look like when you can actually see the change?
I mean, there's the terminus, but then just the physical glacier itself, to look at it, it's smaller, and there's a lot more rocks out there than it used to be. And the other thing we watch is where the snow line is on the glacier, and it's way up glacier really early in the season now. And part of that, our winters overall with climate change are getting warmer, so a lot of the precipitation that gets up there falls as rain rather than as snow. So it doesn't make any deposits in its account to get withdrawn during the summer. So summers are drier and warmer, winters are warmer and wet, and it's not a good equation for a glacier.
And you can stream the show on your Local Plus app to see the full series and learn about the effects of glaciers melting at an alarming rate. Also, turn your eyes to the skies. The Perseid meteor shower, it's still visible. You can see it through August 23rd. It peaked around August 12th through the 13th or so, and it's possible to see about 10 to 20 meteors per hour. Viewing conditions are actually improving. That's thanks to the waning moon, which means darker skies and more visibility. Now remember, this is one of the brightest meteor showers of the year. And like I said, visibility is increasing. It's better now than when it peaked a couple of days ago. The moon was mostly full around the 12th and 13th, so that washed out much of the display. So you really don't want to miss it. And now let's take a look at our 7-day forecast one more time. So taking a look at Sacramento, seeing those triple digits Thursday and Friday warming up and then a little cooler into the weekend. Taking it south to San Diego, temperatures in the 80s until we cool off next Monday, and moving to Boise, Idaho, 90s. Overall, very warm forecast in the northwest with that heat dome that's in effect. Seattle, very similar, 70s warming up to the 80s by the weekend. So overall, very, very hot. Phoenix, triple digits all throughout, around 112 by Thursday, Friday. So very warm conditions down there in the southwest. Well, that does it for us out here on Weather Out West. I'm Savannah Welch. Thank you so much for being with us today, and be sure to join us tomorrow for our next Weather Out West.